couple things here I kind of want to talk about. But the reason we stopped here is I found it pretty interesting. This entire flat right here when we bought the place was cheatgrass, just solid cheatgrass. And I don't know if it was a year or what, but it continues to be, there it has been in spots. But what I thought was interesting about this particular spot is I've been trying to feed down here in the winter, and usually I supplement the cows. When I supplement protein for my cows in the wintertime, I use alfalfa hay. I don't use cake or anything like that. We just use alfalfa hay. So depending on the year, you know, like last year the grass was pretty good, and for most of the winter, and I didn't need to feed them much. But depending on how good my hay is, you know, they'll start out with 10, 12 pounds of alfalfa hay a day, and then I'll just keep increasing it as the winter goes on, and you know, kind of whatever they need. But so that's what we do. And so anyway, right down here on this flat was all cheatgrass. And I'll try to feed on a different spot every day. I do not feed on the same ground. I don't unroll a bale on the same ground twice. And so I just work my way across these flats wherever I can, as long as we don't have enough snow. And in doing that, it's decreased the cheatgrass. If you look out across here, yeah, you can still see some, but there's a lot less, and the western's been working back in and some other things. And I just find that pretty interesting, spreading that nutrients out and hoof action and whatever it is. It's doing some good, and I don't get a bunch of hay piled up on the ground. The little bit that is left is just good organic matter, you know, covering the ground. At least that's my opinion. I don't know what the NRCS guys say, but
makes sense. It's working.
I just found it pretty interesting. So I try to spread it out anywhere on these flats. I'll bring the bales down. We use bale bed pickups as long as there's not a horrible amount of snow, and we'll just try to spread out wherever we supplement them or feed them. And sometimes I can keep them split into two groups and kind of really spread out the grazing, but a lot of times after we start supplementing them too much, they'll kind of get into one group and move around as one group. But even when they get up in the hills, I'll try to draw them back down with that supplementation, because they'll try to stay up in there where the grass is really good and the protection's good. You know, they'll camp up in there if I let them, but I try to force them to come back out. I don't know. That was about all I had right here. The other thing that's neat about this spot is the Kinghorn Homestead is this house that's right here to the north of us. And that was, as far as we were told, that was the original Kinghorn Homestead. And this ranch has been in Kinghorn name for a very long time. I don't know what the date was. I don't know if Rich knows or not, but what did he say?
I think they
Homesteaded, yeah. And then I got all the abstracts when we bought this place. Dick gave them to me. I mean, there's several books of abstracts, and they picked up all the homesteads that were here, you know, either through tax auctions or bought them or took them over. Or they pieced this place together, which is really interesting. I mean, it's a large chunk of ground for them Kinghorn brothers to put together all in one chunk, you know, and it's a square, and I mean, it's really phenomenal that they could put that piece of ground together. And it's almost all native prairie except for maybe 100 acres that's been tilled right down there in front of my house. That's impressive. I guess is there any questions or
what do you contribute the cheatgrass that was here when you guys took over?
You know, I really don't know. From the looks of right here, I think they hayed this and put up hay. There's a bunch of old hay yards right around here, and it being close to the house, and I don't know if that had something to do with it or just overgrazing in general. I'm not sure.
Was this historically summer range before you guys owned it?
The question was this historically summer range? I don't really think so, but I can't say for sure. I know Chuck usually had his cows here in the fall.
I think they were all summer.
Of course, yeah, it probably was, because this pasture we're standing in now and the pasture to the north of us and clear over to where those cows are was all one pasture before we bought it. They put one cross fence in right before we bought it, but there was roughly 7,000 to 8,000 acres right in through here that was all one pasture. So it probably was just a season-long type grazing situation, I'm sure.
Is there dependable surface water somewhere near here where they would have maybe camped here?
That's an interesting question. If there was surface water here, I cannot find a well around this homestead at all. And the draw that we drove through can get springy. You know, last year we had, I don't even know how many inches of rain we had last year. A year and a half worth at least. And that draw was springy all summer and ran water. It's dry now. We've had a little over 7 inches of moisture this year to date on this ranch. So we're significantly drier. We're probably at least 20 inches below last year. And about half of normal, I'd say.
Chad, do you think that cottonwood tree down there might have been water there when you...
There could have been water. There was a dam there that they built where that cottonwood tree is by the homestead. And there certainly could have been some sort of water source there. I don't know. There had to be something, obviously, but I don't know what it was.
Goddamn cold in wintertime.
We're just gonna, from here, we'll just kind of shortly loop through the north winter pasture. It's nothing much, and then we'll head out towards the west side and go through just a little bit of summer range for the west side cows.